Hey guys, Coach Pippin here from Pippin Performance, and welcome to the Fit Project, your weekly workouts designed to help you be strong, be mobile. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel below to get the latest workouts as they're posted. Today we're going to get you ready to hop on those two wheels with a workout focused on flexing and extending your upper back and hips. Cycling puts a lot of stress on these areas, so I have my friend Catherine here with me today to help go through my top mobility moves for cyclists. The only equipment you may need is a yoga block or a chair. Today's workout includes pails and rails thoracic extensions, thoracic cars, pails and rails hip flexion, hip cars, hip flexion passive range holds, scapular cars, side and line shoulder cars, and we'll finish up with lumbar cars. All right, so let's get cracking. So the first thing we're gonna do is pails and rails thoracic extension. So I'm gonna have Catherine go ahead and lay face down, and we're gonna go over the concept of what pails and rails is. So we're trying to expand our thoracic extension, which is the ability to get here. When cycling, we tend to be hunched over. That's okay, we just need to be able to go the other way as well when we need it. So you'll notice she's laying face down. Right now, she's trying to let her ribs kind of fall, and she's trying to feel a big stretch in the front of her abdomen, kind of running up here. And we're gonna hold this stretch for 2 minutes, so we're gonna start the clock. And at the end of 2 minutes, then we're gonna get to what's called our pails and rails. So while she's holding this stretch, and you at home is holding this stretch as well, let's kind of go over to that. So pails and rails is all about activating tissue on both sides of the joint at this specific joint angle. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the ability to extend the upper back from here to up. So after we've sat passively for about 2 minutes, we're kind of controlling our breathing. You should feel a pretty good stretch right now, not a ton, but a little bit. At the end of 2 minutes, then we're going to start to activate. And that's how we start to make really true mobility gains. So when we get to the 2 minutes, the first one is going to be the pails. So we're going to activate the tissue that is trying to be lengthened right now, which is the front. So when we get there, you're going to try to drive your arms into the ground and act like you're almost trying to push your chest forward, but you're not going to move. It's isometric. There's no change in length of the tissue. You're just going to push down as hard as you can for about 10 seconds. You're going to freeze. And then you're going to try to activate the tissue on the backside, trying to pull you up into a bigger stretch. This is all active, it's not passive, and that's how we really make those mobility gains. So we'll be holding a little bit over a minute, so we have about 30 seconds left. Make sure you're calming, you're nice and breathing, everything's good. Try not to let your glutes or your lower back come into play here. We'll have a tendency to squeeze our glutes really, really hard to get more out of it. That defeats the purpose. We want everything to come from here up. We've got about 15 seconds left, so real quick, we're gonna drive down first for 10, and we're gonna try to lift up for 10, but you're not gonna really move, okay? We go in 5, 4, 3, 2. I want you to brace your abs and start to drive your arms down into the ground. You're feeling the front of your chest, abs, everything's turning on. For 5, 4, 3, 2, we're gonna freeze. We're gonna relax that tissue. Now we're gonna try to lift our chest up a little bit higher using all the tissue here in our upper back. Keep breathing for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We're gonna freeze, and now shimmy your elbow back about a ½ inch. Good, and so now we're in a bigger stretch position. So we just created a new space, we activated in that new space, and now let's just go to a new space again. So now we're probably in a bigger stretch, and we're gonna sit here for about another 2 minutes. So typically with the pails and rails, we would do a whole nother round of this. So we would go 2 minute stretch, pails and rails, about 20 seconds, and then we do another 2 minute stretch, and then we do a whole nother set of pails and rails, and then we'd sit in that 2 minute stretch. But for demonstration purposes today, we're just gonna do one round, which is still effective, but if you got the time, try to do a second set, okay? So we got a little bit over a minute left. Try to calm yourself down, you're still breathing, everything's nice and locked in. So while we're in this position, let's talk a little bit about posture. There's no such thing as bad posture. Everybody thinks like, being in this hunch position is bad. It's not technically a bad thing, it's just you gotta come out of it from time to time. You don't wanna stay there all day, otherwise your body will start to become accustomed to it, and your body will start to form in that position. But as long as you come out and you start to open on a regular basis, the next thing we're gonna go over is thoracic cars, which kind of helps with this pattern. You just do it on a regular basis and you're gonna be fine. It's okay that you're stuck at a desk. That happens, that's how we make money and it allows us to go do stuff that we wanna go do. You just gotta come out of it from on a regular basis. You got 20 more seconds. So you should have a pretty big stretch here. So when you go to come out of this, be gentle. You've been hanging out in your end range and your body's not used to that. So just slowly kind of shimmy. So right now, slowly shimmy your arms forward, let your chest start to kind of fall down. And just take your time coming out of this. Good. So we just expanded a range, we did some activation work. Now we're gonna get into our car, so we get to keep this stuff, okay? So we're gonna do our thoracic cars, what we call a tall kneeling position. So as you'll see, she's straight up and down. She's gonna squeeze her glutes and you're gonna brace your abs. What that does, it helps us not move anything else. Because with a thoracic car, we're gonna try to mobilize our thoracic region and all the cool things that it can do. So let's go arms on our chest. We're gonna tuck our chin a little bit. First couple times you do this, it's very confusing, but you'll start to get the gist of it and it'll start to feel more normal. So the first move we're gonna do is we're gonna go into a forward fold. So you're gonna slowly drop your chin, and it's like you're articulating one vertebrae down at a time, and we're gonna own that position. You're not gonna go that far. When you do this, you should feel a stretch running down your upper back. So now we're gonna rotate to our right, hold right there. You're not gonna go far. Tilt to your right. And then now imagine you have something behind you, and you're going to unfold and kind of circle to your left. You're gonna keep coming, and then you're gonna get back into a left tilt. And now you're going to rotate toward your left. And now you're going to fold, and then kind of roll back to the front. And that's kind of your starting position. So remember, it's fold, rotate, tilt, and then back and around. So we're gonna go 4 more to the right, take your time with it, and then we're gonna go 5 to the left. So CAR stands for Controlled Articular Rotations. Now, if you spend any time here with us at Pippin Performance, you know all we ever talk about is CARs, and there's so many benefits. So one of the cool things that it does, it helps get blood flow into our thoracic vertebrae. It's the only way you can do this is by doing movement and involving those joints. Just like with a shoulder car, hip car, whatever car you're doing, the more often you do it, the more blood flow you're promoting into those vertebrae. Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Make sure you get that good tilt. Less movement is better here. Sometimes we get too carried away and we start to really tilt. That's gonna start getting into here. I just wanna move my thoracic region. So really try to think like you got one of those old school heart rate monitors, and that's kind of like the line that you're trying to tax into. Good. We're gonna finish up this last one going to the right. And back to the here. Kind of shake everything out, and now we're gonna go to our left. So, once again, come on up, squeeze those glutes, abs engaged, forward fold, and now let's rotate to the left. And you don't have to do this from a tall kneeling position. I like to put people here first because it makes it so you cheat less. Because if you do it standing, you'll have a tendency to kind of act like you got a hula hoop on your waist, and we don't want to do that. We really just want to open up your upper back. Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Good, let's get 4 more going that way. So I always like to throw in a car of whatever pails and rails we just did. So we just did pails and rails thoracic extension. I always like to throw in the car that corresponds to that region so we get to really feel that new range that we just created. Now, the first time you ever did this, you're probably not going to feel that big of a difference, but the more you do this on a regular basis, you'll really start to get this. Looks good, looks good. Let's get 1 more going to the left. Start going backwards and go to the left. And forward fold, and now go rotate left. She's done these a bunch of times, and it's still a little bit confusing. Tilt to that right, and now fold back through. Keep practicing at it. It looks a little confusing at first, and it feels like you're not really sure where you are in space, but just keep backing away. All right, so enough thoracic cars. Now we're going to get into tails and rails hip flexion. So hip flexion is all about getting this knee as high and tuned as possible. So we're going to have Catherine come around on this side. She's going to put her right foot here, left leg behind. So once again, we're going to sit in the stretch for 2 minutes. So big keys here is you want to have your upper back as flat as possible. So when you go to hinge, you're trying to close the gap between your chest and your knee. So go ahead and put yourself in that position. And we're going to hold right here for 2 minutes. So what you should feel is a stretch kind of running along the back side of your hip, because this is the tissue that's being lengthened. We're trying to close this gap, lengthen here. So figure out what you gotta do to get comfortable here. If this isn't all that comfortable, you can have another bench to put your arms on, you can grab some sticks, whatever you wanna do. Technically, you can probably do this from a kneeling position on the ground if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. Just figure out what you gotta do to get yourself comfortable. Good. Keep holding, keep holding. The hardest part about pails and rails is figuring out what you gotta do to make yourself comfortable for the extended amount of time that we're staying in this position. Everybody do a quick little check-in. Does your back feel flat? Are your abs engaged? You got a good breathing pattern going? Everything's good? Don't freak out if you can't get your knee as high as Catherine can right now. But in terms of cycling though, I mean, think about how many repetitions we're going through here. And if you can't close this gap, you're gonna be a lot higher up with your torso on your bike. So the more comfortable you can get in this position, think of how much more aerodynamic you're gonna be on that bike as opposed to kind of being here. Assuming the lower you have your seat, the better off you're gonna be. So getting that good hip flexion will allow you to get deeper into that position, and then we'll be able to produce force from this specific joint angle. So our pails and rails, since we're trying to lengthen this tissue, that's the first part that we're gonna activate. So in about 10 seconds, we're going to drive that right heel through the ground without anything moving. So let's create tension. Let's squeeze our fists, let's brace our abs, and now let's drive that right foot in the ground. 10, 9, 8, 7. You're crushing something in between your foot and the bench. 5, 4, 3, 2. We're gonna freeze. And now we're gonna try to activate all the tissues. So we're gonna try to pull ourselves by almost picking our foot up, pulling ourselves deeper into that stretch. For 10, 9, keep pulling yourself down. 8, 7, you should get a big cramp feeling in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Take your hands, grab your shin, and pull you in a little bit deeper stretch, keeping your back flat. Buff that chest out a little bit. And now we're gonna hold for 2 minutes. So, you should feel a lot of tension, especially whenever you're doing the rails part, your body does not want to be there. You will probably cramp the first couple times you do this. Just shake it out, just get right back into it. So once again, for demonstration purposes, we're only going to show one round of the pails and rails with a 2-minute stretch on either side of it. Feel free to do more than one round. You can do up to 3 rounds. After that, you're probably just doing a little too much. So we got about a little over a minute left of holding this, but you should be in a bigger stretch. So once we finish up with this guy, we're going to go into the left leg. Good, do a little check-in. Where's your spine? Good. Think about that thoracic extension that we worked on a little bit here. So if you're having a really hard time here, just think about what we did at the very beginning and try to activate that tissue. Good, let's go for about 30 seconds. Looks good. Let's tuck that chin a little bit. More. All right, when you come out of this, take your time. Your hips been kind of a little opened up, so let's push away. Slowly let that foot come down. You can shake it out a little bit. And now, let's put that left leg up. So we're going to do that whole same process on the left side. So, left foot up on the bench. Get yourself in a good stretch. Slowly pull yourself down. You can use your arms, whatever you want to do here. And just get yourself to like a good 6 or 7 out of 10 in terms of stretch. And we're off. Make sure our hips are square, our hips aren't rotated too much, posture's on point. Figure out what you gotta do to make yourself comfortable so you can stay here for a little bit. So when we get done with this round of pails and rails, we're gonna go into another car. So we're gonna get into the hip car, okay? That way we get to keep all that wonderful new range of motion that we've just established. Unfortunately, guys, mobility work is not the most fun thing to do. But if you want to get the most bang for your buck, you want to keep your joints healthy, you want to keep doing what you want to do on a regular basis, you have to put in this time. Now, you don't have to do everything from this workout all at once. If you only got time to do a couple of them, it's all cumulative. Just try to start hacking away every day, getting your mobility work in. If you want to keep cycling for the rest of your life, you have to do this stuff. Good. Keep breathing. We got about 45 seconds left. Unfortunately, 30 seconds of stretching doesn't really get us anywhere. Old school thought we'd like just sit and stretch for 30 seconds, that's good, and then we go to something else. That's not the way it works. You can't combat 8 hours of bad sitting, abuse on a bike, abuse on whatever it is you want to do. You can't combat that in 30 seconds of stretching. You got to spend time in the range that you want to be able to put in, and then you got to learn to develop control, and that's where these pails and rails come through. Let's go to 10 more seconds. And then we're going to start with our pails. So once again, it's driving down into the bench. You're not moving, you're just driving your foot. And begin, drive, 10, 9, squish something between here, 8, 7, we'll keep pushing down, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, we're going to freeze. And now we're going to try to pick our foot up and pull ourselves down deeper, 10, 9, 8, breathe, 7, 6, keep pulling in, 5, 4, 3, 2, take your arms, grab it and hold, and now relax your tissue and sit into that deeper stretch. And now you're going to try to calm your breathing down. So think of it this way, when you're in the passive stretch, you should be nice and breathing. Put on some nice chill music, whatever it is, and just try to relax and let your nervous system calm down while you're in that passive stretch. When it's time to do the pails and rails, that's when you want to speed up your breathing, almost breathe like a pregnant lady. You're creating tension, you're ramping everything up, you're getting your nervous system really, really excited because you're producing force at your end range of motion, and that is not an easy task, okay? That's why we typically don't do these kind of things on an everyday basis. 2 or 3 times a week with this stuff is plenty. If you did 5 or 6 days in a row of just doing pails and rails, your nervous system's going to be shot. We got 1 more minute, guys. Keep breathing, staying nice and calm. Check in with your spine. Thoracic extension, try it out right now. We've worked on it, might as well use it. Keep pulling, keep holding. Sometimes doing your pails and rails while watching TV, catching up on your DVR that we all do, or Netflix, whatever your poison is. 30 more seconds. Looks good. Remember, when we come out of this, we're going to go very, very slowly. Let that tissue relax. All right, slowly start to open yourself up, coming out of it. Put that leg on the ground. It's going to feel like a stanky leg right now. Shake it out a little bit. Then we're going to get to the hip cards. All right, we're going to show from the side view here. So tapping my head and come around, we're going to grab here, we're going to go into our right leg. So face that way. So with the hip guard, we're going to try to take our hip to its biggest range of motion. So hips can flex, they extend, they internally, externally rotate, abduct, and all that fun stuff. So take your right arm out to the side like you're making a T. This just helps create tension and gets our arm out of the way. So we're going to pull that knee straight up to the ceiling. We're going to hold. We're creating as much posture here as possible. I don't want to activate anything else. We're going to slowly open the barn door to the right, so start to swing out. The belly button is not changing. Now this is where it gets fun. We're going to extend and rotate, rotate, rotate. Coming through, the knee starts to swoop down. You're a little behind, and now return back to that starting position. So since we just worked on that flexion, you should be able to get that knee really high up there. But don't try to lean back at the expense of it. Nice and smooth. Notice the pace that she's going, super, super slow. Speed high is needed. If you get through here and you kind of rip through, you're kind of defeating the purpose of the exercise. Where you're wanting to speed up is probably where you need to spend more time. Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Back through. 2 more, guys. Get your abs engaged here. Brace, brace, brace. Try to only let your hip do the movement. It's a hip car. We're not trying to make it a lumbar car, thoracic car, or any other kind of car. It's only about your hip. Good, last one. Open the door. And while you're doing your cars, if you find a spot that does not feel particularly great, guess what? Spend more time there if you need it. All right, spin around, Catherine, and let's do the other side. So, right leg solid, left hand's engaged, bring that left leg up. Let's show off all that wonderful hip flexion that we just created. Open the door, rotate through, swoop back and around. don't judge your personal hip car with Catherine. She's done a whole lot of these. It just takes time. Go slow. Go to where you feel control, where you really feel you own each and every angle of that hip. And as you get better, it will get bigger, and that's what we're kind of hoping to do here. Looks good, looks good. All right, 3 left. So when you go to open that barn door, the tendency is you're going to want to rotate with it. Try to make sure your belly button, wherever position, like she's pointed right at me, and she's staying right at me the entire time. Now she wants to rotate out because she wants to take her knee out further, but that defeats the purpose. Keep it all in the hip, abs stay nice and engaged. Let's get these last 2. Good rotation, good rotation. Looks good. All right, one more, Catherine, let's finish it off. Excellent. So we're going to stay right in this position. We're going to get into our hip flexion passive range hold. So basically what we're going to try to accomplish is we're going to develop strength at the highest part we can get our hip. So she's going to hold on with her right hand. You're going to grab your left knee and you're going to pull it up. We're making this passive. So once I got it as high as I can, I'm going to let go and I'm going to try to hold it there for 10, 9, 8, stay tall, 7, 6, right leg locked, 5, 4, 3, 2, just let it fall. Good. Go back down, get your good grip, pull that bad boy up, hold, irradiate tension, and let go. 10, 9, stay tall, right leg straight, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, let it fall. Last one. Get tight, grab, pick it up, hold, and let go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and let it fall. Shake it out real quick. All right, let's spin around. Let's do the other side. All right, grab down, get a good grip of that right leg, pull it up to your chest on that position, and let go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, drop. All right, reestablish, grab your right knee, pull it up, get tight, and let go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and fall. All right, last one. Grab the knee, pull it up, get as high as you can, and go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. All right, now we're gonna get into our scapular car. So scapular cars is all about taking our scapula through its biggest range of motion. So if you really think about it, you have a marker sticking out the side of your shoulder. You get everything else nice and tight, head's back, and I'm gonna try to draw a nice, perfect circle, only moving my scapula. So if you have pockets, it helps if you grab with your thumbs. If you don't, just imagine you do. Let's get nice and tall. So all we're gonna do is 5 kind of forward and 5 back. So let's establish abs, glutes, chin to neutral, and let's start by going up to the ceiling and then slowly circling backwards. Less is best here. A lot of people tend to, they start doing this stuff, and you'll notice the rest of my body is moving. We're not trying to do the worm here. We're just trying to make our scapula do what scapula do. And there's going to be certain parts when you go through this, it's going to skip almost like a CD skipping. That means you don't have control there. Spend time there. So most people, they don't own this bottom kind of back position. Go hang out there. Spend a little time there. Move it around. Really want to get a better connection with your body, you can even close your eyes after you've done this about 20 or 30 times. And then that kind of opens up a whole new can of worms because then you start to really feel where your shoulders are in space. All right, last one going backwards. Excellent. So, once again, reestablish position. Now we're going to go up to the ceiling again, and then we're going to go forward and around with that circle. And it's amazing what just changing the direction does to these. Some people are really good going backwards, other people are really good going forwards. But if you're hanging out on that bike for a couple hours on a Saturday ride, those scapula get stuck. We really need to open those guys to get those guys moving and grooving again. It seems like a subtle move, but you really gotta get these guys moving. You'll notice you're not wanting to move a whole lot. Everything stays pretty still. Looks good, looks good. Let's go one more up and over. And relax, perfect. All right, so now we're gonna get into sideline shoulder carves. So we're gonna have Captain lay down with her head on this end, and you're gonna wanna lay on your left side. So bend your knees so you kind of get in that good fetal position, and now you wanna make sure your abs are engaged a little bit, and everything else is nice and still. So we're gonna take our right arm, we're gonna reach out straight out in front of us. So right here. So essentially this is what it looks like from standing, is I'm gonna come up, so start to reach over your head. Once you get here, you're gonna hit a roadblock basically right at the top of your shoulder. She has really good shoulder mobility, so she's able to get her arm behind her ear. Go to where you feel the block. Then we're gonna envision we have an X right here on the inside of our elbow. We're gonna swoop out, and we're gonna try to roll that X over while coming back and behind. Keep rolling it over, keep rolling it over, and we're gonna pause when we get to our glute. Now we're gonna come back, go as high as we can, and now we're gonna start to unwind so we can see that X again. Come back over the ear, and then back to the starting position. We're gonna go 4 more that way. The hardest part with the shoulder carve is remembering to get that rotation. So we really wanna think that elbow is kind of our driver. If the elbow rotates over, then my shoulder did its job. If he's not moving, then we're not getting enough rotation out of this. I'd rather somebody's shoulder rotate really well as opposed to doing this. Rotation helps with everything else. So let's get 3 left. Try to keep your sternum pointed straight ahead. Sometimes when we go to open, we want to rotate. When we start incorporating other things, we just want to make this all about the shoulder. Down, get a good pause, come back up. Good, unwind, roll that over so you can now start to see that X. Good. Let's get 2 more. Don't force the shoulder carve, guys. If you start to get here and you get a little pinchy, that's okay. Just kind of back off and go around that pinch and try to get back on that big range of motion. Kind of forcing into pinches and pain when you're doing your carves just kind of defeats the whole purpose. You create that pain response and no good's going to come about from that. Unwind, unwind. Good. And come back over. All right, let's get this last one, guys. Brace those abs, and now reach that thumb up overhead. Now start to roll that X over so we can't see it. Keep winding, up and over. Come down and through, touch and go back. Reach over, excellent. All right, go ahead and flip sides for me. So head over here. Laying on your right, now we're going to do left side lying shoulder carve. So same exact setup, guys. Abs engaged, reach that left arm out, and let's reach up overhead. One side of your body is going to be vastly different than the other. So your right arm might move really well compared to your left arm and vice versa. That's totally okay. Whatever arm doesn't work as well, spend more time. Put in the work. And up and over. All right, 4 more, guys. Remember, slower is better. Take your time with this. Kind of really feel and kind of like get to know each position, because probably having your arm behind your back, you haven't done in a long time. So we need to spend time there. That way, if you're driving in your car and all of a sudden you have to reach in the back seat, you hit a bump unexpectedly, well, guess what? If I get put there, I've spent time there. I'm going to be able to get through that a little bit easier. But if I've never had my arm behind my back and you hit a bump in the road, trying to grab onto a purse, wallet, bag, or whatever, you're setting yourself up for failure. Smooth. Unwind. Try to keep that head as perfectly still as humanly possible. That's good. Let's get 2 more. Another thing to keep in mind here is if you feel like you're getting a little bit too much of a scapular thing, you can always try to set your scaps. That'll make your shoulder car a little bit more honest. It makes it very, very, very difficult, but it does help eventually. But when you're first starting to learn these guys, just try to get this pattern down when you're really rotating that elbow over. And as you get better with it, start to really think about setting those scaps down and back as we start to get behind this, as opposed to being here, we're down here now. Another thing to keep in mind is just because your hand is rotating doesn't mean your shoulder is rotating. So I can rotate my hand all the way over, but nothing is actually taking place in my shoulder. That's why we make the elbow the driver. If the elbow rolls over, my shoulder did the job. Come back and reach. Let's squeeze out the last bit of range of motion on this last one. Unwind it. Excellent. All right, so last one, guys. We're going to do our lumbar car. So we're going to slide this way. We're going to lay flat on our back. That's perfect right there. Let's set. Stay here. We're good. So now we're going to get into lumbar cars. So we're on our back, and we want to get our pelvis rotating back and forth. And that's how we get our lumbar to actually move. This is the only way we can get blood flow in there. So what we're going to try to think about is the top of our pelvis compared to the bottom of our pelvis. The top of our pelvis, we want to rotate him backwards, and that's going to bring the bottom of the pelvis forward up to the ceiling, and that's going to flatten our back out. So let's everybody start to rotate the top of the pelvis back. You'll feel your back pushing into the ground. So that's the end range of being in this position. So this is kind of lumbar flexion. We're tucking under. Now we're going to go into extension. So now the bottom or top part of the pelvis is going to come up toward the ceiling. The bottom part is going to go down, and now we're going to have a nice little arc in our lower back. Don't get carried away here. If you've never been here before, you're going to feel some weird stretching happening. And now we're going to slowly transition back to the other way. So we're going to go for 5 here. Go super, super slow. If you've ever had back pain before, or if you wake up and your back's feeling really stiff, this is an excellent thing to do. I mean, you can honestly do this lying in bed before you get up. So bend your knees a little bit. Just tuck your pelvis back and forth really slow. And as you do this more and more, you're going to start to get a little bit more range of motion, especially when you start to roll that pelvis back so your lumbar is coming off the ground. Don't force anything, just take your time, go nice and smooth. Looks good. If you sit at a desk all day, you can actually do this sitting. It looks kind of funny, but you can actually just kind of roll your pelvis back and forth. You're not going to have as much range of motion as you do lying down, but you can still get some good work done. That's good. Tuck. Good. Let's try to get one more good one. Make sure you guys are breathing during this. She's staying nice and calm. Her head's staying still. We're going to own that bottom position right there. So we're driving that lumbar down. And now let's slowly come out the other way. Good. Tucking back. Feeling that lumbar coming off the ground. And now slowly return to the start position. Awesome job. Come on up, Captain. Looks good. All right, guys. That's the end of today's workout. Mobility is what allows us to keep doing what we want to do for a long time. Be sure to incorporate this in your current routine to keep you out on the bike. Thanks for joining us, and as always, be strong, be mobile.